in English, but mostly it's the Urdu poets that have influenced me most. Of course, Ghalib is one of them. Rumi is one of them. And just out of the blue, I noted the ID and I wrote it to Satarupa, who was the editor at that point of time. And I wrote that, I was in my seventh semester of engineering actually when this happened. So I wrote to her and I didn't think that someone would answer or someone would reply. I think Good Times is doing pretty well. And Satarupa had a, keen eye for writers and she what I loved about her and the magazine is that they were open to even new people. Yeah, I got around 750 for that article and I was like, oh God, I made it.
Writing is fun, and some do it to earn. Well, it may sound like a poem, but it's not because I'm very bad at writing a poem. Hello, I'm Partha, and welcome to another episode of Candid with Partha. Today, I have with me Mehnaz Farooque, who is a budding poet, and her first collection of poet will be released soon. So let's know more about her work, and her plans for the future. Mehnaz, welcome to my show.
Hi, Partha. Thank you.
So how are you? How is life going on?
Life is chill right now. Excited about new things coming up, and yeah, so that's how it is.
Okay, since I started this interview with a kind of thrash poetry because I'm very bad at poetry, and you are coming up with a collection of poetry. So please enlighten us about the genre that you are writing and the kind of poems that you've written in that.
Sure. So I'm not of an established poet per se, but I try and I'm trying. And my book is a collection of about 50 poems, 50 original English poems that I have written. And it's kind of in, my way of putting things out there that I have been doing for almost 30 years now. So yeah, it's a collection of all of that, my experiences with life, love, and everything else. And I've tried to explore it through all of these poems. And yeah, that's what we are coming up with.
How did this idea of writing a poetry collection come to your mind?
So basically, I used to write poems since very early of my age. So, and that would be trash poetry. But in due course of time, I started to love different kinds of poems and different kinds of poets. So it was one of my first connection with writing itself. I wanted to write a novel first, but I thought, let's just come up with something which is more, which is closer to my heart, which is poems. So that's how I thought, okay, let's just sit and recollect everything that I have written over time and give it a shape, give it a name. So that's how the idea came across.
As you have said that you wanted to write a novel, but the idea changed to poetry. So, if I have to ask you that, which is more tougher, writing poems or going for a story? I mean prose, longer form of prose.
Prose is harder because it takes a lot of time, effort, then character building and everything. It's a more wholesome process. But poems, if you give it for if you have been writing for 2-3 years at least, you would have some sort of material to come up with. So for me at least, it was not easier, but it was a bit less difficult to come up with the poems than with the entire prose for a novel. So I think that's this journey.
I have heard people say that poets mostly write about their feelings or they mostly express themselves through their poems. Are these poems a reflection of your inner self, the person you are that people don't know, or it's a part of fiction or part of some inspirations that you have had in your life so far?
Well, I think it's a clear reflection of who I am, what I thought, what I went through. However, because every writer has a sense of, the place where they go and they think about and they build up stories. So I think it's also some aspect of fictional journeys as well. However, I think most of the poets, they write what they are thinking, or what they are going through, and my poems are clear reflection of what I went through, what I was thinking. But of course there are surprising fictional elements as well, just to jazz them up.
Okay. You have said the poems are a reflection of a journey of 30 years. Is it a kind of biographical or autobiographical poetry series of Mehnaz Farooque?
No, well, first of all, I'm not that significant of a person to come up with that. But it is mostly about, a person going through different phases of their life, and making a poem out of all these phases. I would put it like that.
Yeah.
And I think these are not some out of the world experiences. These are anything that you and I or anybody else would have gone through in their life. And that's how I think it'll be relatable, because somewhere we have fallen in love, somewhere we have gone through separation, somewhere we have seen death of the closest people. So I think it's just an expression of all of these amalgamated. More than me, probably it's about the people around me, the people I have come across. So I think this is how I would introduce them in my life as poems, probably.
Since you wrote for a magazine, so I mean, you were partly associated with journalism as well. So, has this experience of being a part-time journalist also helped you shape your poems and improve your poetry?
Yes, totally. I think with Good Times of Northeast, I got the chance to, interview people or ask questions. So, a kind of research that went into every article helped me even now to come up with different kinds of content or copies or poems. It's just, I think, a journalism past of journalism helps you to be more curious about the topics that you're going to write about, and it also helps you, come up with the questions. Okay, this is how I'm going to answer, or this is what I'm going to write about. So I think that helps. That was always helpful. Yeah.
And who have been your favorite poets, favorite authors who has influenced you as a reader or even as a writer?
So I write in English, but mostly it's the Urdu poets that have, influenced me most. Of course, Ghalib is one of them. Rumi is one of them. Faiz Sahab is one of them. Even Rahat Indori Sahab is one of them. They are, the way they express, the way they choose poetry to say things very big, and yet express them in simple rhymes or lines. I think that was refreshing for me. However, for English poets, I think I have always loved John Keats. I have always loved William Wordsworth, William Blake. I have always loved Alfred Tennyson. And however, I think one of the poets that stuck with me while I was growing up was F.W. Baudelaire, and his poem Light was a very short poem. And that was one of the first poems that actually, captured my imagination. And he wrote it in such a simple way. It was a two stanza poems, and it is not a very celebrated poems. However, it is something I felt it was very beautiful and elegant, the way he expressed something very big in simple sentences, which is kind of my calling for poetry, at least.
Okay. Now, coming back to your book, let's talk about your book also. I mean, let's talk more about your book. You have said your poetry collections contain 50 poems. So,
Yes.
how have you done the placement of the poems? I mean, is it a random placement, or you have decided that this poem should come first, this poem should come second, third, fourth, and so on?
Nothing of that sort right now. But the tentative title has three phases, and we will arrange the poems according to those phases.
Okay.
So I think that will be the final indexing of the poems when it comes to the book. But when I was writing, or when I was gathering all of them, I didn't have an order. And and I think every writer is very messy in their minds. I think we're very disorderly people when it comes to our minds. and that what happened when I was writing them. I was thinking about everything at the same time when I was writing. I think that just shows how we are inside.
t- Tell me more about yourself, Mehnaz, poet.
First of all, hearing my name as a poet is a big, it gives me goosebumps yet, because I don't consider myself as as anyone who is very established, because it's just I'm in the learning phase. But yeah, as a poet or whatever I have written uh, until now, I think it's something very close to my heart, and I'm not from a literature background. I did my engineering, so it's something very different than what I'm doing, what I was studying for. So for me, getting into poetry or getting into writing per se was kind of a dream, was kind of a something that was unachievable, but I'm still trying. So it's like touchwood, it's like living the dream. So calling myself as a poet, or Mehnaz the poet, the way you introduced it, it just feels so fancy. I'm flying in the air right now.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, that's your introduction. That's your identity, I think, because as you have said that you are from the engineering background, but you are not doing that to earn your bread and butter. So
Yes,
obviously, here I have to ask you this, because since you come from Assam, and we all know that in Assam, if somebody is a certified engineer or a doctor and he opts something else to earn, then there is a big issue in the family. How could you do
yes.
this? Was this the same in your case?
Of course, of course. So I'm a petroleum engineer, and it was like a war with myself and with everyone outside. I was trying to tell them what I am more inclined to, but at the same time, I was good at engineering. It was not that I was very bad at, so everybody would be like, okay, tumse to ho nahi raha hai, kind of. It was nothing like that. So I was good at there, but I wanted to pursue something which I was not at all sure of. So it took a great convincing. Firstly, I was given 3 months to try to earn something with my writing, which thank God I did earn something from my writing. So, and then I got the chance. But it also helped that the petroleum industry was doing really bad when I actually graduated, and I
Okay.
wasn't getting any offers. And being a girl, it was difficult for me to acquire a field job in the oil industry. So thank God the industry was doing shit at that point of time. Sorry for the language, but yeah, doors were closed there, so I had to open my own windows, and I had to create my own door. And good times came as a blessing to me. So that's how I started, and that's how I realized, oh God, someone might pay me for my words. So that's how it started. And yeah, so I was given 3 months to prove that okay, I can bring something to the table, and my parents were at least open enough to let me try it once. So I think they supported, even though there was friction, but they supported. And eventually, when I got a hang of this line of work, I think they came around. Yeah.
So, Good Times was the first writing place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then just tell me something that how you got to know about Good Times and how your that thing. That's quite interesting. I love to
It's
know.
a very interesting story. It's a very interesting story. I went to a dentist, and in Guwahati, I was visiting my masi, my mahi. And I went to a dentist, and while I was waiting for my appointment, I saw Good Times Northeast, the magazine, on the table, on the side table. And I just picked it up, and I saw there were beautiful articles, and they were something like, I didn't know that Northeast was even publishing, these contemporary articles or these writing pieces. I didn't know before that. So I saw the magazine, I liked it, and I thought, oh, I should, what if I was a writer here? I saw other writers' names, and then at the end of the magazine, on the, I think, the cover, there was this editor's email ID was there. And just out of the blue, I noted the ID, and I wrote it to Satarupa, who was the editor at that point of time. And I wrote that, I was in my seventh semester of engineering actually when this happened.
Mhm.
So I wrote to her, and I didn't think that someone would answer or someone would reply. And but she did. I just wrote that, I'm trying to write, or I'm at least trying to start writing. So is there anything that I could do as a freelancer or as anything? And then she gave me, I still remember the topic was teenage. And I came up with this article, The Stripling Times of Teenage. That was my first article. And yeah, I got around 750 for that article. And I was like, oh God, I made it.
750 actually at that time was quite a big amount, because even now most of the established houses, they don't give more than 300, 350 for an hour.
Yeah, yeah. I think Good Times is doing pretty well. And Satyarupa had a, keen eye for writers. And she, what I loved about her and the magazine is that they were open to even new people. I had zero writing experience, and she didn't even ask me. She just asked me to write something, and she liked it and she published it. So I think that was like walking, on the bed of roses. And then to actually get there and to see myself, my name published on a magazine that I just saw 2 months back, it was surreal. It is still surreal.
Okay, so that way, a chance visit to the dentist, he gave you Good Times of Northeast. So after Good
Yes.
Times of Northeast, where else have you been writing? I mean, the longer formats.
So I started working for an IT firm in Assam itself, in Guwahati. It's called Mirania Data Systems. And again, it has an interesting story. So I saw an ad on Assam Tribune, and it was written that they wanted a writer. I didn't know what content writing is. I didn't know what digital writing is. So I just applied for it, and they called me for an interview. I went for the interview, and they asked me to write about wind chimes. And me being poetic, and I just wrote about wind chimes in a poetic, in a very grand way. And although that was not very much liked by the person who was interviewing me, however, I was chosen because I think there were less number of writers in Guwahati at that point of time. And I still remember we were only two writers. I was one of them, and Supriya Islam, she was another writer, and we were only the two content writers in the entire data firm. And I think that's where I started writing long form content, articles, and product descriptions, and website content. So it explored everything for me. Yeah.
So how do you shift this role between a poet and a content writer? I rather say, let me put it in a better way. How do you balance the writer, the content writer and the poet? How do you keep a balance between the two?
Okay. So, Partha, I was a very early age. I was very clear that I don't want to write poems to earn money.
Okay.
Because the moment I would write poems every day, or even, write something very creative every day, it is going to exhaust me. So I have to have a clear distinction of how I'm earning money from writing and how I'm writing for my soul, or the other aspect of writing. So for me, content writing or digital marketing writing opened that door where I could, earn good money and explore a different kind of writing, and then come back home and, write my poems or write something more, uh, you know, creative than what I'm doing at in the office. So that's how it is. So I knew that I needed this difference because I also wanted to earn money because my parents, paid a lot for my engineering. I knew that as a poet, I don't think so I would be able to, pay them back or even sustain financially. So I thought, okay, let's find a better way of earning money through writing. But then again, probably that will help me become a poet, established poet later on. So that was the whole decision.
Okay, again, being a writer, either you are a poet or a novelist, it demands a lot of reading. Then again, when you are a content writer, that also demands a lot of reading. Again, the kind
Yeah.
of stuff that you read as a poet or as a novelist is different, and this is different. So again, my
Yes.
question is same. How do you keep this balance as a reader?
Again, I would say, I think, so I'm that sort of a person who would read
Hmm.
and write at work. Again, coming back, I will relax and read and write as well. So, to relax also and to gain knowledge also, I'm doing the same things. I know it sounds very boring, but this is what I do. I read articles. For example, now I'm working for a financial service company, and I have to read all these articles which are more related to loans, health insurance, and stuff like that. So I make sure, okay, I'm doing that at work, or maybe, in and around, whenever I get something interesting to read about finance, I'm going to read about it. But when I come back home, I'm going to read Wordsworth. I'm going to read William Blake. I'm not going to read Times of India news here at home. So that was clear. I was balancing. Like on the weekends, I would only read novels, or I would only read poems. I'm not going to go and read what are the new SEBI rules that have been introduced. So I think that's how my mind also gets a chance to break from what I've been doing for the last 5 days in a week. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I relax, I read something else, and then I go back on Monday and do all that again.
So it's a conscious effort that you put in every week to break that thing. Okay, I mean that's something we also try to keep the workaholic upside and passionate inside. That's fine. Apart from the ones, the classic poets that you have read, if I have to ask you, who are the favorites from the new generation or the new breed poets, who would be they?
Um, there are not many, but I love reading Beau Taplin, and I like Rupi Kaur, uh, somewhere from very modern poets. What I like about them is that they talk about something which is happening right now, or they are talking about something very relevant to us. Maybe I would not be able to associate myself with some classic storyline of a poem. How I will be able to connect myself with, a more digital age story that Beau Taplin writes. So I think that's how I find them. I like their writing a lot. I think, yeah, they are two great poets of right now we have.
Modern time. Okay. Some say that the kind of stuff that we read or the people whom we read, their style has an subconscious effect on us, the way we write as well. Uh, are
Yes.
you influenced by them in some way? Some way?
Yes, yes, yes. I am very much influenced by John Keats. I'm very much influenced by Ghalib, and also Rumi to a great extent. It's also very difficult to not be influenced, because there's such big ideas, and there's such you know storytellers that you are already in their story. You are living that, and somewhere it is going to be ingrained in you, even if you are trying to live on your own. I think that's how an influence is from other poets that we have. But at the same time, I think it's how you express is very individual, and it's very different than how anyone else would express. And mostly I feel it's the same stories we have been talking about. It's the same betrayal that we are talking about. It's the same heartbreak, or it's the same mourning of a death that we are talking about over the years. However, how we talk about, or how we associate these pain points with something very close to us, or something very personal, makes every poet different.
Okay.
So I think that's how it is. Yeah.
Okay. Let's know about the genre of your book, which is on pop poetry. So,
Yes.
tell me something about more about pop poetry, what it is, and how it is different from other styles of writing.
Pop poetry is basically popular culture poetry. The things that is going on right now, the things that are relevant, the language, or the kind of English that we talk right now. I think everything makes pop poetry. And like I mentioned, Beau Taplin and Rupi Kaur, they're very much into pop culture of poetry. Classic poets will hate this, because pop poetry does not follow the traditional, formats or formations of poetry. But I think it's very important for us to not go by the rules as writers, because I think that's what we are completely different from the rules. So pop poetry gives us that window that even if you don't know the traditional poems work, or how to follow the proper formations, you are able to express through your kind of poetry, which is pop poetry basically. So yeah, it's I know the hatred towards it, but I seem to like it, and I seem to be okay with it. So
It's just like test cricketers disliking T20.
yes, yes.
So
Usually I'm old school, and I love the vintage things, and I because I follow the classic poets, but I also think that this is a time, this is a very different kind of time that we are living in, and everything is so new, everything is different than how it was written before. So I
mhm.
think we can explore that window where we are, we are talking like how we usually talk.
Right, right.
So so pop poetry gives us that access to,
The
everyone can be
liberty,
a
yeah.
poet. Yeah, the liberty to choose words, the liberty to use poetry in a wider picture. I think that's how it does.
Here, actually, at this point, I'd like to know one more thing. Most of the time, when the new age writers, just like you, who started writing and they are bringing out their anthologies, it's often said, or rather say, some of the quote unquote expert social media critics, again, quote unquote, they often tend to say that these days everybody who has a pen and a paper is a writer. They will write, and most of them even claim that the new age writers, most of them are actually crap, actually
Yeah,
crap. So,
yeah.
to those Facebook social media critics, what would you like to say?
Uh, I think, yeah, everyone has a pen and paper. Everyone has internet. Everyone has access to things that was very elite at some point, is now available to most of us. And why not? Everyone should become a poet. I think rather than become a cynic, or rather than becoming a very rational person who doesn't have an imagination, I'd rather have everyone writing poems about things that they love. I think that's how it is. It should be. And for the critics, I understand their sentiments, because I am also kind of a person, who likes the classic movies or the classic TV series, and I'd be like, oh, these new ones are really, really crappy. They don't match like I would say, the new age sitcoms won't match Seinfeld's, or that category, that level of finesse. But at the same time, we cannot just shut people. If someone is telling something, someone wants to say something, and even one person finds it relatable, I think that's okay. There are 8 billions of people in the world right now, and I guess if 5 people would find my poetry relatable, and if 5 people would write to me saying that feel these words, that's enough for me. I don't need to be, critically acclaimed. I would rather be loved by the masses than critically liked by the well-established critics. Yeah.
I'm not talking about the well-established critics. These are the self-made social media critics. It's there. It's
Well, they
like
are well established in their minds, so
see, most of them say things like that. The kind of words that we use, I mean, the new writers use, the new poets use, they don't match the classics and all. So one way they might be correct that okay, fine, that in the race for the quality, quantity, maybe quality has been lost somewhere. But can we just say that since I don't like a particular poem, or I don't like a particular story, can I simply say that that story is a bad story, or that story is a or that poem is a bad poem? I mean, if I ask you, for you, what is a good poem or what is a bad poem? What do you say?
I think a good poem is something very natural, something very true of how the writer is expressing. Like, I would give you an example. Like, there are many songs right now Bollywood is producing, right? But very few of them have good lyrics when it comes to, and somewhere everything else sounds noise, like a noise. You cannot differentiate between what they are talking about, like, daddy mummy nahi hai ghar pe, what kind of lyrics is that? What are we trying to say? Or tera pyar hukka baar. I don't know what we are trying to say. But at the same time, when we have different kinds of songs, even if they are item songs, but they have lyrics, they have certain kind of rhythm, or they have poetry in them. I think that makes more sense to the ones that are very fast produced. I think that's how fashion industry has also become. Fast fashion has become very accessible and very likable, but the hand woven things are not much popular. But of course, it is uprising. It is rising now. So I think it's in every industry. The fast produced things lack that maturity, that depth, and of course, poetry is all about depth. So yeah, that's how it is, I guess.
So we have talked a lot about the poet Mehnaz. Now let us know about the content writer Mehnaz. So you started as a petroleum engineer, then you started writing from good times. You started to write for now you're working for a
Finance.
finance. So tell us something that how this journey has been, the kind of challenges that you have faced, and if somebody wants to take up content writing seriously, how should they go about?
Okay. Because I'm not from a literature background, it was very challenging for me. I do not have a journalistic approach, even though I have written for magazines. That was more like a practical experience that I had gained and that I made use of in my career. But because I do not come from that background, that crude background, I feel being left out. I feel many of the opportunities have passed because I don't have a degree in literature. But then I have also been lucky that people had chosen experience or knowledge over degrees. So that's how I carved my path, and Bangalore became a very comfortable place to actually try something that I don't even know about. So I came out of Assam, and then I came here. I came to Bangalore because it was the most accessible place, because my cousin was also studying here at that point in time. So my mom was like, "ठीक है, someone is there, so you can go to that city." So I did not get to explore Bombay, or I did not get to explore Delhi. I just came to Bangalore, and also Bangalore has a lot of Assamese people, so it almost feels like Assam. So that's how I came here. But the city is also very stable. It gives you a chance to explore different aspects. Like, I see content writers here without any background of content writing. They're just trying copywriters here. And then we have graphic designers. Many engineers have given up their engineering and taken up graphic designing, and somehow this city has been able to give them jobs, give us, all of us, some kind of jobs at least. So I think I got lucky because I came to Bangalore instead of struggling in Bombay, where I think I would have gotten lost in many times. But yeah, that's if you are trying. And also Bangalore is an IT hub, so everyone needs content writers, and it's about the digital marketing is very much alive here, and it will be alive here for longest time. So people like us, people who are trying to write, who are trying to make a serious career out of content writing or copywriting, they can actually come and explore in the city, or they can understand the different nuances of writing or digital marketing in this city. But people who are looking for more in the advertising background, who are looking for more script writing and those kind of writings, they should go to Bombay. I think the opportunities are better. You would get a better hang of the art there. But if you are more into corporate writing, corporate content writing, Bangalore would be a better place for you to explore, I guess. Yeah.
A couple of years back, while I was working for a magazine, then we used to have interns from various universities of Assam and Northeast. So they were unclear about their future. I mean, most of them wanted to be a journalist, but they didn't have that will to go out on the field or do strong stories or hard-hitting stories. So they generally shifted towards content writing. And with all the kind of layoffs that we're having right now, it's very difficult to say that some companies who are hiring content writers in their corporate offices, they will sustain or not. So from you, since you have this experience of content writing, so if somebody wants to do write content from companies from remote areas, one or two tips, what will you say them or tell them that do this to showcase your skills or something like that? I mean, to say develop a rapport. I hope my question is clear.
Yeah. Uh, I think it's for a writer, even if you're working full time, it's very important to have a network of people so that even if you are being laid off or even if you do not have work at the moment, you have these other sort of networks where you can at least get some kind of freelance work. First of all, that's very important.
Right.
So try to meet people, try to, take up projects. There are many sites like Upwork, where you can actually, create your own profile and be there. The second thing I would say, make a good portfolio for yourself. I have a portfolio on Muckrack, which is mainly for journalists, but there at least you can showcase whatever work you have done. And so that there is always some database to refer to. Like graphic designers would show some kind of videos they have worked on or some kind of creatives. But for writers, usually what happens, I faced it because I did not keep a record of all the articles I wrote for Good Times Northeast. So I don't have many of them. I have one or two just there. So, keep a record of them and keep it somewhere online, so that you can, whenever someone asks you for a reference, you can just send your portfolio
Links.
to them and showcase different kinds of writing you do. So for me, what I was doing, I started with content writing, but now I'm a copywriter, and copywriting is very different than long form content writing. And I got the chance to work for startups because Bangalore is a place of for startups. So I was more or less the individual contributors from the content team in most of the companies. So I got a chance to explore both short form and long form
Okay.
content simultaneously throughout my career. So that helped. So now I can, and I have put differentiated that, okay, this is my long form content, this is my short form content, and I'm okay with both of them. And whatever appeals for my next job, I would try to pursue that part. So for first of all, have a network. Secondly, have a database of all the work you do, and reach out to people and never stop writing. I think this is very important. Do not stop writing. Do whatever, contribute. Even if you're not getting paid, contribute to free websites or newspapers, just to keep the flair, just to keep the flow going on. I think
Okay.
that's very important.
When it's writing helps to keep your mind focused and the sharpen in, and it helps us sharpen the skills also. That's right. Uh, by the way, I wanted to know that apart from reading and writing, what else do you like doing?
I'm a very boring person. All I do is read and write. No, I love watching movies. I love, TV shows. I think that's any millennial things. I do all of that. I also love going outside. I think it's and taking photos. I take a lot of photos of everything and anything, and my Instagram followers bear with me all the time because I post after every hour probably. So I love taking. I love capturing moments. I love pondering upon them and maybe writing upon them later. So yeah, photography is part of what I love.
Has it happened with you sometimes that while you are watching a movie or reading a novel, this thought has come, okay, fine, this was something that I also wanted to write or something that I have written in the past. Has it happened something like that with you ever?
Yeah, it happens mostly. What happens, whenever I watch something and it just stuck me, I just stop it. If I'm watching it on laptop, I just stop the movie or the TV show, and I'll just note it down, the thought that just came to me while watching a particular scene. Probably it's not even being used or said in the scene, but that particular scene triggers something in me, and I'll just make a note of it, and maybe I'll come back to it later and write something about it. So I feel the more you consume art, the more you consume content, it just triggers a lot of ideas in you. And I think it's a very healthy process to keep watching, keep reading other people's work, so that you have certain triggers that probably were not there in you. You know, you just see them and you just identify them, and you come back to them later and you write about them, I guess. So that's
No,
happens a lot.
no, I'm not. That is another part. My part was that I wanted to know is that something, supposedly you are watching a movie and a scene is
Huh,
going on, and the
huh.
thing is like that, okay, this is something that I have already written in the past.
Okay.
Something like that.
Not much, not much. I don't
But
think
that is a
so.
deja vu kind of a thing. One of the deja vu in the sense that, okay, fine, I have written this, but now I'm seeing this. I am seeing my words live on screen. Something, a feeling of that sort.
Broader ideas, probably broader ideas. Like, you know, I have so many times I have thought about writing about time traveling and how to write about time traveling. And some of the movies that I have watched, it's like, oh, this is exactly what I was thinking, but it's already being made, so I cannot write now because
Okay.
people will think I'm just influenced from them.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that happens.
While I talk a lot, and a lot of things keeps revolving in my mind. But I have to simply get myself tighten up and try and bring everything, channelize everything. So
Yeah.
before going off air, I like to few more things about, especially about the book. So tell me more that how do you think that this book is a bit different from what we have read so far?
Uh, First of all, it's something which is very simple to read about. I think one of the highlights of my poems would be, you know, everyone would understand what I have written about. You don't have to go and find your dictionary to know a word.
Okay.
It's mostly about how you and I are talking. My
Mhm.
poetry would sound like that. It's like, I feel, you know, most of us have a thought process and we cannot pen down those words. Most of us find it difficult. But because somewhere I could, form words about what my thought processes are, so that's the result of all the poems that I've written.
Okay.
So I think this is something very different, and this is something would be very relatable. You don't have to be an avid reader to understand my poems. It'll be like talking to yourself, and you're just reading the sentences,
Okay.
and you would understand. I think that would be a major highlight of the book. Yeah.
But uh, you started off to write a novel. So are
Yes.
we going to see a novel as well?
Yes, I have also finished the novel, thank God,
Okay.
thankfully. But I am like any other struggling writer, probably. I'm not in that space where I can show my work to the editors right now. I don't know. I have written it. Somehow I'm struggling with myself. Will it be relevant? Will it be okay? Will the story be, you know, something people would want to read? I think so. I'm going through that phase of self doubt and existential crisis about the novel. Once I get past that, I think that should go on the floors as well. Yeah.
And by when can we expect the poetry book to get released?
It is still in the very nascent stage, so I think it'll take at least 4 or 5 more months
Okay.
to give it the right shape. And once it's there, I think we will start on the post production later on. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the timeline I'm looking at.
Thank you, Mehnaz. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was really nice and very intriguing to talking to you. And thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me, and it's a wonderful platform that you have come up with. I am very excited to see the other videos as well, and to know other people from Assam, from Northeast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching the video. If you have watched this, watch it till now, please like my video, share my video, and also subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching Candid with Partha. We'll meet again with some another guest and we'll talk about some another topic. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Tata.